should we be revisiting the rookie running back class here? And, I want to kind of project forward for these guys. And this has been a big thing we've talked about, but I think it's a big point this season that we have to focus on, because this running back class was one that we wanted to invest in. And I will say, like last week, I believe during the hurry up offense segment, one of the questions you asked me, like, what is my kind of early season, the take from the preseason that early in the season I think might be a little bit questionable. And one of the things I will say is that what I should have answered, it's that the rookie running backs would just hit the ground running right away and produce from week one. And we didn't necessarily see that from them, right? But things changed pretty quickly. And look how fast things started to change last week for Marion Hampton. The week before, we were questioning, is this guy somebody you're even going to start for fantasy? A week later, we're looking at him like he's an RB1 for fantasy now, right? And I think we'll see some of these situations start to change. Cam Scadaboo is another one where he was trying to, had an injury in the summer. He was trying to make his way in this offense. And then very quickly, he starts to take over. And both those things happened before the injuries happened in their backfield, right? Najee Harris getting hurt, very unfortunate. But we were seeing Hampton have a good game before that. And same thing with Tyron Tracy Jr. getting hurt. We were seeing Cam Scadaboo kind of take over that backfield before that injury took place. So then you go down the list, right? Like, what do we expect from these guys? We already talked about Scadaboo a bunch. Hampton as well. I think that one's pretty clear now. He has no competition in that backfield. I don't think there's anyone walking through the door that's going to challenge him in terms of like a free agent that they could bring in. Maybe they trade for someone, but I don't really expect that to happen. So Hampton now, in my mind, firmly top 15, but probably a low-end RB1 the rest of the way. Ashton Jeanty, this one is kind of interesting, right? Because he's gone from, in the drafts, we were taking him as like a low-end RB1. Now I think value-wise, you have to bump him down to that RB2 range. And he almost needs like one of these Hampton performances to kind of reverse that trend, because it's going in the wrong direction. We talked about it. That Raiders offensive line, so bad. They're the worst line in terms of yards before contact. Jeanty's getting hit in the backfield constantly. And we need to see more from this offense. And we also need to see more from Jeanty as a pass catcher, because I think that's one thing where before the season, we were talking about him just dominating touches, and he's not really so far. So he's down still in the top 20 for me, but he's more down in like the lower end of the RB2 ranks because there's other guys that have stepped up. And just because we're not really seeing what we had hoped to see from him, which was massive volume and big plays and passing work and everything, it hasn't come to roost yet.
Maybe this ages poorly, but I just think Jeanty might be screwed this year. I mean, until something changes, right? Like, I hate to say it, but this is why we did the episode with Nate over the summer, where I looked at like the difference of ADP rank versus like projected offenses in the guys that were going like really high. Multiple players from the same offense that were not projected to be good offenses. Like, one of these guys might not work out. It's not been good for the Falcons so far with Bijan Robinson and Drake London. One of them is not working out. Neither of the guys are really working out in Las Vegas. Like, it should be Brock Bowers, but he's obviously banged up, so that's not really the same thing. But this is the problem when there are systemic risks at the running back position. They're just very sensitive to it. And I definitely did not see them playing damn Zamir White and Dylan Lobby on passing downs. That's been a surprise, but that really hurts Jeanty from a fantasy perspective because this offensive line is not breeding a good rushing environment. So I don't know, like, until further notice, he's a guy you probably have to play in fantasy because, like, how many better options do you have? And he is getting the volume, but it's just a tough spot right now. And I really don't see things changing. And I'm just kind of down on this whole Raiders environment. Hampton, though, really encouraging week 3. The only thing I'll disagree with you about is that I think Najee might have made a push for more touches based on how things were going the first couple weeks, but obviously with he was pretty involved in the first quarter of that game, and then obviously he tears the Achilles, so it's over now. But the fact that Hampton was so involved in the passing game, ended up being 4th among running backs last week, and 4th overall in yards from scrimmage among all players, because he was so involved in the passing game, which is key, Boone, because this is a pass-first team, as I always say. And I think he's really good as a pass catcher. I think he has struggled a little bit to like diagnose lanes and kind of be a consistent tempo rusher for them. But he's a big boy out there on the edge. And the way you can do that is like kind of throwing him these swing passes. So I thought that was a nice little revelation for his value last week.
Yeah, on top of the fact that, he's playing in a really good offense and some of these other guys we're talking about are not necessarily. So
Yeah.
being in a good offense, we hope that that would be a positive for him, another notch in the column for him and his fantasy value moving forward. We could go further. Like those are the top rookie backs. Like we could go further down, right? Like Travion Henderson. He hasn't really done his part yet in avoiding some of those rookie mistakes and like that kind of early career learning curve that happens for some guys. And I think that's factored into him not getting as much playing time. So he needs to prove to the coaching staff that, he can be a trusted player in the offense. But what do you think about those fumbles last week, right? Like Ramondre Stevenson fumbling twice, Antonio Gibson coming in and fumbling. I know everybody went crazy that immediately after that in practice, we see Travion Henderson leading the running back position drills, the other guys behind him.
God.
I don't want to read too much into that, but I
couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my God, am I back in August again? We're doing the order of guys and drills.
And I don't think that this is something like people are looking for that thing that's like, oh man, it's changing right away. I don't think this is one that's going to change overnight. But I do think that game helped open the door again for Henderson to get some more opportunity and to hopefully take over this backfield, which I still think is the way this goes. I still think he ends up being the lead back here eventually. Right now, he's a risky RB3 flex option this week, and that's even still just based on the assumption that he's going to get some more work based on the way the last game went. So you're really going into that game with some risk in your lineup if you're going to go in there with Henderson. But you could take that chance because I think he is going to come out of that last game and have a big shot here to earn a bigger role. And let's just hope that he can come through with it. RJ Harvey was somebody that was kind of for a while there going in a similar range to Henderson in drafts in the summer. And for him, he is clearly behind J.K. Dobbins. And I don't think that one's surprising at all. I think we mentioned that as a strong possibility that the season would begin, that the Broncos would have the veteran out there, Dobbins would lead the way. And I think one of the bigger developments recently, actually, for Harvey in fantasy is the fact that Tyler Bidet was taken out of the picture last week, right? This was almost like a three-man backfield early in the season. And last week, we saw Bidet's touches go elsewhere. Now, they didn't go to Harvey, unfortunately. They actually went to Dobbins. But this not being a three-man committee, this going down to a two-man committee, that's going to help Harvey for sure. I think that's a positive. And the real hope here for Harvey, and this isn't the best process to follow for fantasy, and I've said this before, this is kind of one spot where I'm making an exception. But Dobbins being hurt every year of his career, unless the mile-high air changes something for him, I think the most likely outcome here is he is going to break down again throughout the season. And at that point, Harvey would be the next man up. So either way, you're holding Harvey. You might even want to buy low on him right now. He's just a stash. You're not going to put him in your lineup yet. But I think at some point this season, he is going to have a big impact on the fantasy outcomes for everybody.
I agree with that. And the one thing that's on my radar with both Henderson and Harvey is that neither of their offenses are all that good right now. Like, I kind of think both of these teams need something else than what they've gotten. I mean, yeah, J.K. Dobbins has produced, but from a rushing success rate standpoint, they're actually not that great, especially over the course of all three downs. He has been productive, and I think he should remain in the picture here, but they kind of need a little bit more pop from their run game because Bo Nix it's been bad to start this year. Like, he's just been flat out bad. And I think the offense kind of still has the training wheels on him. So Harvey was always kind of a little bit of a long-term play that, like, yeah, you kind of have to draft him in the 5th round, but you got to hope to ride the wave in the back half of the season. So I'm definitely still optimistic that can happen. Nothing has shaken my faith from the first few weeks to think that can't happen. Henderson, this is the week to prove it, man. This is the week to prove it. Okay. It's Carolina Panthers defense that shut down the passing game for the Falcons last week, but is still vulnerable against the run. And there's opportunity with two proven fumblers fumbling last week in Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. So Henderson just needs to step up, play better, and put a couple of explosive runs on the field. That's what needs to happen for him. We can't project that going into it. We have no idea if that's going to happen, but like you said, it would be risky to play him, but that's what you're hoping to see if you have Henderson stashed away on your bench.
Yeah, you have to, as a rookie, you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves. And this is going to be one for him. I would also say, going back to Harvey, he might get a chance this week too, because you know what helps a rushing attack going up against the Bengals defense? It's the second easiest matchup for fantasy backs. They've given up at least 90 scrimmage yards and or a touchdown to 5 different backs in 3 weeks, Harmon. So we could see, I think Dobbins is going to have a big game. We could see both of these guys have just a huge game. So I think this is going to be a good spot for both of them. And we're not even mentioning Bashal Tutin, who's coming on, and Ollie Gordon, who got more opportunity last week, and Woody Marks, who's, his snaps have been going up. So there are so many rookie backs out there that are going to be meaningful for fantasy. So make sure you're stashing these guys. Even if they don't have the biggest opportunity right now, I still think their time is going to come.
All right, let's quickly hit your sixth and final question for this week, which we're going to stay on the rookie theme for this one.
Yeah, it ties into everything that we've talked about in this segment, right? It's who is the favorite right now to win Rookie of the Year? And this is more just, who do you think? Who do I think? In my mind, we've gone over a lot of the candidates already. I think Hampton, in my mind, should be the favorite. I think he's the guy. It's not just the stats that he's going to put up. It's the offense that he's in. It's the team that he's on. They're going to be contenders. They're going to have a great year. And he is going to be the lead back on that team, scoring touchdowns, making big plays. I really like Emeka Egbuka. We know that. But eventually Mike Evans is going to be back. Eventually Chris Godwin will be, we think, closer to 100%. There's going to be other guys in that offense. So he's not like the clear only guy, only star there. Tyler Warren is great, but he would need some really big games. I think for a tight end to get in that conversation, they need to be just blowing everybody out of the water. That's tough for him. Jackson Dart, like the odds for him are still pretty good, but I just don't think the Giants are going to win enough. I don't think that's going to be the case there. Cam Scatterbo, there'd have to be like a wild narrative for him to come through, right? He'd have to score a ton of touchdowns. I just think that he's going to be a little behind because they're not going to win that many games either. I think Tedero McMillan is the real other contender here because I think he, even though he's on a team that's probably going to be losing, I think he could put up some really monster stats and make a really strong case that way. But to me, I think this is Hampton's award to lose.
Man, that's spicy. Yeah, I would say for Dart, though, Ty usually goes to the quarterback, So if he comes out there and he has like some decent games, they manage a respectable season for New York, like enough to get Brian Daboll to get another season. Like I do think he could. I always come back to that year where Kyler Murray had like a whatever rookie quarterback season and Josh Jacobs was one of the best, most productive backs in the league, and the award went to Kyler Murray. So that's the thing I always come back to. I agree with you about Tyler Warren. Leads all tight ends in yards right now, but it's like 140. You need a lot more than that to kind of get there. McMillan, if I'd like file a vote today, and obviously 3 games in, way too early, I think would be my vote just because he has been the most impressive like when I watch him. But you don't get this award based on film. You get it on stats. And the Panthers are going to throw the ball a lot. They lead the NFL in dropbacks, at least through the first 2 weeks. So they will be throwing a lot. He will get opportunity. But how many touchdowns is he going to score? The Hampton one is spicy. I kind of think, though, Emeka Egbuka he probably needs to really go crazy. Receiver is a little bit difficult. That said, though, if he strings together a strong month without Mike Evans around, and the Bucs are a good team and they survive, they win the NFC South, they go to the playoffs, and like Egbuka scores 10 touches. He's already scored what, 3 touchdowns so far? He scores 10 touchdowns or something. I do think he would be a pretty good contender. So I think the 3 guys that are probably in the like non-quarterback division are probably Hampton, McMillan, and Egbuka that I would say you could bet on to win this award.
Yeah, I think for Egbuka, he would just have to dust the veterans. Like we need to get to a point where Mike Evans comes back. He's not the same. Godwin's not the same. And Egbuka is just running away with that receiving core. And it's not impossible. It is not impossible for that to be the case. Yeah.